It's Idaho Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Boise today, joined by Megan Ronk. She is the director of Idaho's Department of Commerce. Kind of head cheerleader, if I can say. Commerce looking to bring business in to the state. Is that fair?
Absolutely. No, I think I have the best job in the state because I get to talk about what a great place this is to live and work and do business.
And I have to admit that my wife reads this magazine. It's called Vogue. It's her source of news.
Sure.
And I understand that Vogue, the source of news for many, talked a bit about Boise and Idaho. Tell us what they say.
Yes, recently we were ranked one of the top 10 hottest destinations in the world. We were the only U.S. state to be named. And I loved the way Idaho was described. That, you know, Idaho is having a moment, and I think that is absolutely true. Whether it's from a tourism perspective or people looking to expand or do business in our state.
Let's talk about tourism, because it is undeniable that Californians, Floridians, New Yorkers, we love Idaho. And when you consider the importance of tourism, I mean, tourism is the third largest industry behind ag and tech. You're expecting 9% annual growth. I mean, what industry has, 2% annual growth, let alone 9%? 1,800 new properties and rooms. Idaho is having a moment.
It is. You know, we're a four-season destination, whether it's our fantastic ski resorts in Sun Valley, up in our northern part of the state at Schweitzer. So we have a lot to offer in terms of winter recreation. But really, summer is our busiest time of year between biking, hiking, all sorts of outdoor recreation opportunities. Idaho's a pretty fantastic place to visit, and people are starting to take notice and planning trips here.
Now, how do you manage that growth, though? Because you know, the thing about Idaho, it's kind of a hidden secret, but if it gets out, all of a sudden you become Vail. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, people who live here because they want to recreate here sometimes get a little bit protective of their secret fishing spots, and they don't want to be discovered. But it's happening, and we're prepared for the growth. A lot of our travel operators, hoteliers, I mean, they're ready and they're excited to be able to welcome more visitors to our state.
I want to talk about trade, which is also an important part of the Idaho economy. Governor Otter recently traveled to China in October and November with business leaders from the milk industry, potato industry, wheat industry, hay industry. I mean, China makes up, over almost more than $500 million in 2015 is in terms of exports. That's significant.
Yeah, both on the non-ag side. I mean, Idaho is home to some world-class companies, and the reality is, especially being an agriculture state, we produce more than we could ever consume here domestically. And so naturally we look to export those both nationally and internationally. And we've had some really great success in working with not only ag, but a number of our industry sectors, including aerospace, technology. We have quite a few companies that are doing different kind of personal care products and nutritional supplements.
I'm wondering though, in light of the new administration in Washington, you know, there's been a lot of talk about trade, and we don't know what's going to happen with trade. But look, China is Idaho's second largest export market, and there's been a lot of vitriol against China and Mexico. And so, how are you in the Department of Commerce trying to manage the anger that some understand because of trade deficits, but yet Idaho jobs? They rely on exports.
Yeah, and that's what we try to talk about here in Idaho is trade has to be two-way. There has to be a benefit for our Idaho companies. And, I think we have a good case to make that whether it's some of our larger companies, but really a lot of our trade is fueled by smaller companies in our state that are benefiting from having diversified access to markets. I mean, especially during the downturn in the economy. For instance, our timber industry, domestic demand was really flat, and they relied heavily on some of their international relationships that they had built. So I think there's a case to be made for diversifying and having opportunities to export and look at international customers.
Are you nervous in the wake of the heated talk on trade during the last campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to wait and see.
Fair.
I mean, obviously, U.S. policy has a huge impact on what we do here in Idaho. But the reality is we've invested in trade for decades, and we have long-term relationships in the markets in which we do business. And I have to believe, having recently joined the governor on the trade mission in China.
There. Oh, you were there.
And there was a lot of conversation about what is the next administration, what is that going to mean? But at the same time, there was a recognition that we've maintained those relationships for a long period of time, and I think those relationships will exist no matter what.
I want to talk about jobs, because what's so satisfying about Idaho is how low its unemployment rate is. But here's what's interesting. There are people that are unemployed.
Right.
There are jobs that are open, but there's a mismatch.
Right.
The people that are looking for jobs don't have the correct qualifications for the jobs that are open.
Yep.
What can be done to try to minimize that mismatch?
Yeah. I think really it's a three-pronged approach. I mean, obviously we have to make sure that, our young people coming up through our K through 12 system are aware of the career opportunities out there, and we're doing everything to plug them into higher education and technical training opportunities so that we can, keep them in our state and connect them with those employers.
Before we get to the other two prongs, I want to ask you about that, because there are efforts through the governor and otherwise to expand educational opportunities through career tech and otherwise, looking at expanding, I think it's the College of Western Idaho here in Boise, turning Eastern Idaho Tech into a community college. I mean, that the timing's right. One could argue.
Absolutely, yeah, and having access to a robust community college and professional career technical education is going to be crucial.
And if we bring those jobs back from Mexico and China, someone's going to need to have the skills for them, and how do they get trained? Idaho community colleges.
Absolutely, yeah. So we need to be looking at growing from within. We need to be looking at retraining some of our existing workforce that has that, as you point out, skill mismatch with the jobs that are available. And again, community colleges play a huge role in that.
What are the other two prongs? I don't want to forget.
So retraining is the second.
Perfect.
And then third, I really believe that, over the last decade and maybe even longer, we've lost some of our talented people who've grown up in Idaho, who've left and started working in bigger job markets.
Where are they going?
Seattle, San Francisco, Portland. I think when you grow up sometimes in a small community, there's this natural pressure. You feel like you need to go someplace else and make it.
I mean,
but
it's the best of both worlds. It's a big little town, little big town.
I know, and this is the state where people are moving to, especially when people get into that age where they're having families and they're recognizing, they need to be someplace where there's a good work-life balance and they're not spending hours in the car commuting. And Idaho's a perfect place for that. So we need to look for ways and opportunities to bring back that talent that we've lost that have a natural affinity for our state.
I know a medical school, looking at that as a way to keep Idahoans local. And look, Idaho's having a moment.
We are.
So maybe the moment is now for folks to come home.
Yes.
Because the economy is strong. And if we look forward, it seems as if it's only going to get stronger. States in surplus, you're working your tail off. I mean, it's a moment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Must be exciting. Her name is Megan Ronk. She's the director of Idaho's Department of Commerce. We are in Boise today at the state capitol. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thank you so much for joining us on Idaho Local Edition.